Now you can let them all in.
There's just Tabitha right now.
So, I just want to be introduced to everyone and y'all probably know each other and what company you're with or when you got your license and that kind of thing.
I'm Monica, I'm Kim's assistant, and I just passed my real estate exam on Monday.
Congratulations.
I'm Whitney. I got my license in April. Last week.
Awesome. Awesome. All these people I've talked to, like, oh, look, there's spaces here.
I'm Terry. I'm working in Malay real estate right now in Yanceyville, North Carolina.
Okay.
I had North Carolina and Virginia license 20 years ago, and my Virginia one expired. So I got my North Carolina one activated, and I've been working with them since February 2020, right before the pandemic started.
Well, luckily it's the Virginia one. I think that one's easier to get than the.
Yeah, I'm most of the way there.
Good.
So
Well, welcome.
And I'm Amy, and I got my license last Thursday.
Awesome.
So I don't have any.
Congratulations. No way. Well, good. I just like to know so I know what we're working on.
I'm Clayton with Tripole Real Estate and got my license last October.
Awesome. Welcome here. Sorry about I was late, you guys.
I'm Kirsten, and I just joined here, 2 months ago, I think. Yeah.
Welcome. So everyone, you have a packet there. What I'm going to go over, I'm going to condense it a little bit, is going to be open houses. Obviously, some of you have been in real estate before and you have done open houses, and others you probably have not. For me, I got my license in 2004 and I moved here from Florida and had to kind of start from scratch because I didn't know anyone. So open houses are how I started my business. And I did an open house every Sunday for 7 years and did not miss one Sunday. So even on vacation, I came back for Sunday open house. So it is how I started my business, and I really, really believe that. So who in here have done open houses before? So we're going to talk a little bit real quickly about something that you're supposed to do on a daily basis. And these are your daily habits. And y'all see the checkpoint page in here? You have a checkpoint page on yours. I didn't put a staple together, so it's easier to pull and make notes. Basically, you want to add 10 people to your database every day. For those of you who are new and don't really know what a database is, it is the place where you put your contacts, your family, your friends, people from church, people from your kids' school, everyone that you've ever known goes into this database. And that's what, you know, if you have just 500 people in your database, you can actually target those people and start your real estate career. An average of 6% of anyone's database will buy a house in 2022. So that is a national statistic. So if you don't have anyone in there, you don't put them in, nothing's going to happen. But if you get them in there, it really does work. And so, you know, you want to connect with 10 people, write 10 notes a week, and preview 10 homes every week. And previewing homes, especially when you're new, if you ever want to show your value to someone when you talk to them, you need to know what's out there. And when they ask you questions, you need to really have it in your mind, be like, oh my gosh, I looked at this other house the other day, it was so beautiful. Those are the things that are important that you say to people when they call. You only get a few seconds to capture them on that phone. I mean, they're either going to be interested in what you have to say or not interested. So I'm just going to read a quick thing on get your head in the game. Why do agents do open houses? It may surprise you, but it's not to sell a house they are holding open. In fact, NAR statistics reveal that less than 1% of all buyers actually purchase a home they first saw in an open house. Your goal in holding it is not necessarily to sell the home, it's to put yourself in the path of opportunity. When you go to an open house, you need to have a plan. You know, everyone in the world has gone to an open house without a plan, and they just sit there like, oh my God, please let these 2 hours get over with, because I want to get home. Okay, that does happen to normal people, but that is not how you want to plan your open house. You want to plan it to where you are going to get clients. And when a buyer walks into an open house and they're looking to buy a house and they don't have a realtor, probably there's a good chance they also need to sell a house. So you might get 2 sales off of that one person in an open house. Also, the NAR statistics show that almost 45% of all buyers use open houses as a source of information during their search process. Yes, you're going to have people come in and say, I'm looking with somebody else. It happens all the time. Be polite to them, help them with what they want, but don't get pigeonholed with that person. You need to move on to the other people who aren't working with someone. That being said, I've had several people come into mind that said they were working with someone who really weren't, and they really hadn't signed anything, but they had talked to someone before. After the open house, you do not call someone else that says they're working with an agent, but they reached out to me and then you were so helpful, we decided, to go with you. You don't want to have that in mind, that don't try to steal people's customers, but those were customers. There's a difference between a customer and a client. But just know that the more helpful you are. Some will come in and act like they just want to see the paint colors in the house and they ask questions. The more you help them and the less you get irritated because they're wasting your time at the open house, you just want to have a servant's heart at all times and it will come back to you. Ben Kenny is a mega agent. He firmly believes the average agent could outsell 99% of all other agents across the nation if they open 5 open houses 5 days a week. He says agents who think they don't work, they never work them. So again, we're going to talk about what you can do to make your open house successful. If that's all you ever did, I can promise you'll be successful in real estate. So you want to go ahead and count down to payday. You get the leads from the open house, you get appointments, agreements, contracts, closing, and then you get paid. Most of the time with my open houses, I schedule and know that after my open house, there's going to be somebody, I'm either going to go preview their house or I'm going to show them other houses. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well, because when they come in, now if you're with Keller Williams, we have an app. So that app, you can actually click on a button and it's going to show you all the houses around where your open house is. So when they come in and you ask them, tell me what it is about this house that would work for your family. And if they say, well, I don't think this is it, then say, well, can I ask you a few questions? What is it about this house that doesn't work and what would make it perfect for you? At that point is when you can say, let me share this app with you. And it's an app that has your name and, all your information. If you don't have an app, then you can say, let me show you on the MLS, what else is here and would you like to see them after I close up? Don't let them out of there. The minute they leave, yes, you're going to send them a card and yes, you're going to call them. But once they get out of your grasp, they're less likely to come back. You can also say, do you have a home to sell? And if they do, would you mind if I came by after the open house to preview it? Right away, the husband's going to be more like, yes, and the wife's going to be like, no way you're going to come look at my house today because I have to clean it. That's when you need to humble yourself down and say, oh, I know, you should see my house when I left today. The kids threw cereal over the floor, we went to church and I didn't get to make my bed. Make sure they realize that you don't live in a glass house. And it makes them feel more comfortable with you. So try to get that appointment. And if they can't do it that evening, that's fine, but make the appointment. Figure out what day and explain to them that, because they're going to say, oh, well, I need to prepare my house. And you have to remember that they don't know what you're the professional. They don't know what they need to do to prepare their house. So I always say, let me come by and tell you the things that I feel will work to get your house sold, because I don't want you to do things that you don't need to do. I mean, that real type A personality that thinks everything has to be perfect, they may never get their house on the market because they're so busy trying to make it perfect. So just those are the, you know, objections you can overcome. Does anyone have any questions? So here's another one, I can't remember, 3 of 6. Does yours say 3 of 6? Make it happen.
Great, thanks.
I skip a couple of them. An open house is just a sales event, right? Not exactly. Done with purpose, an open house is a sales event that is preceded by a systematic process and surrounded by a wealth of lead generation opportunities. To get the best results, organize your task in 3 phases: before the open house, the day of, and after the open house. If you do an open house and you don't ever contact anyone that signed in on that sheet, you're wasting your time. And I don't know what it is, but people sometimes get that fear factor of rejection, and so they don't reach out. I don't ever wait even until the next day. They forget who you are because they've seen other people. You want to get out in front of them before any other agent does and find out what you can do to help them. So before the open house, you want to schedule it during peak times. Plan your sign strategy, you know, where your directionals. I mean, if no one can find the house, it doesn't do you any good. You know, do your research and get the word out. You want to call your database or create a Facebook event or some type of social marketing, because if I don't know in Danville, I know some offices don't have IDX, or they don't have, when they put it in, as far as, like, if you have your website, you have IDX on your website,
None of them
connection
have
fee,
it.
they don't have it, okay? Yeah, and
They
so-
have it for their brokers.
Brokers.
But they don't, individual agents cannot have IDX.
Okay.
We're the only ones that offer that.
Okay, so you will have your own website that is just offered for free, and that's her responsibility to help you set it up. Don't call me. She has to set my stuff up. So you'll have your own website.
You'd be surprised at the people that find you there too.
Yeah, it's crazy, especially when,
And search for properties on there.
yeah, for whatever reason, I don't know why they don't have IDX. And IDX, for those of you who don't know what it is the feed that allows everyone's listings in the entire area to feed into your website. So it looks like those listings are yours. When they feed in, they're just, you know, so they can go one-stop shopping on your website. It's not, you don't really have to do anything, it automatically uploads into it. The only person that was the guinea pig was Kim, because what it took for us to get the IDX working over here was crazy. The Keller Williams owns their own, and it was painful. She's paid the dues. Yeah, it was, they were not, you know, every MLS has their own, you know, issues. But if you are going to be doing North Carolina and Virginia, we did our principal broker just got licensed in North Carolina, so she can cross over. So we're just about ready for that. But it would automatically, you know, you'll be able to feed everything into it. So here we go, 3 days before. Y'all see the open house countdown? You want to confirm the date and time of the open house with the listing agent if you're not doing your own. So if you're new and you don't have listings, then you can ask, you know, fellow agents, you know, in the company if you can do open houses for them. You know, print a map of the neighborhood within a 5-mile radius, research sign placement regulations, be careful, a lot of HOAs and cities will steal your signs. 2 days before, this is my favorite part, okay? Knock on 100 doors in the neighborhood to invite neighbors and leave a flyer at each door. If you can't do 100, do 50, do 25, but do something. This gives you a reason to knock on doors. Knocking on doors just to say, hello, my name is Teresa, I'm a realtor, you know, that's uncomfortable. But when you come with something like this, you're actually going to the neighbors and you can invite them like 30 minutes prior, you know, and say, I'm gonna let the neighbors have a sneak preview. You know, people love to come and look at their neighbors' houses to see what it is compared to theirs. So it's a great way for you to get other clients, because if they see you're that aggressive and you're actively marketing it, there's a good chance that then you get to know them and just invite them to the open house. advertise the open house on Craigslist, add it to the MLS, the KWLS, that's basically the Keller Williams IDX. Role play your scripts with a partner. I am going to email everyone here some really good scripts if y'all like. And we'll have a scripts class later, so, but they're really good. Compile information on alternative properties, 5 copies of each. That is kind of the old way of doing it, but you still can have it there for yourself. But it's so much easier on your phone because if you hand them a piece of paper, you're not getting their information. So you want to either give them the app, when they do upload it, it automatically goes into your database, so you have them. Or if you want to email them the MLS information while you're standing there. And you can email them your website link as well, because then they have that, and when they go in, they can see them. So you want to try to make sure you capture these people. When they sign in, read it back to them. You have no idea. You're going to get home and be like, oh crap, I have no idea what this number is. I don't know what that email address is. So make sure, or you can use your tablet to have them sign in on. Sometimes agents will be like, how do I get somebody to sign in? There's different ways to do it. My way is a little more of a softer route, instead of like knocking them down when they walk in the front door, which makes people like, you know, I typically, you know, just introduce myself and hand them the flyer of the home and just tell them, you know, please feel free to look around. If you have any questions, you know, I'm here to help. And then if I hear them talking, I'll just be like, you know, I heard that you were asking this question. Just be there as a source of knowledge. And then, because if you're too aggressive, it just, you know, I mean, have you ever been in a dressing room and you're at a boutique and they're just bugging the tar out of you, and you're just like, I cannot wait to get out of this dressing room because they're stressing you. Don't be that lady in the dressing room. You know, try to be more relaxed. They'll start coming up to ask you questions, take a lot of notes. And even if they have their own agent, write down the agent's name so that you can call the agent, you know, down the road. But when you do the 5 copies each, you know, and you don't have to have paper, you can have paper, however you want to do it. You want to make sure that you have 2 to 3 properties in a lower price range, in a higher price range, and then maybe with 1 more bedroom. And you want to make sure if this is a 2-story house, maybe have them with a main level master. You know, you don't know, they might come in and be like, I really need a main level master. And you know, you can have blank contracts. We don't do that anymore either. That's old school. This is like my little Bible that I just love, and it's a little bit outdated. Basically, pretty much all contracts are paperless, most places anyway. You could actually type it up right there if somebody did want to purchase something. You want to put together a home book display with photos and details. Get a plat. You can get it off y'all's GIS. And if you don't know how to do that and you're newer, you know, you can, you know, check with any of us and we'll show you how to go in there and print that plat off, because people always want to see the property boundaries. And floor plans if you have it, school information, tax information, community, anything that you can do, whether it's your listing or not, you want to make sure that you have everything they want and be that wealth of knowledge. You know, make yourself important. So when you do bring your guest register, whether you put it, you know, on your tablet or you have it on paper, you want to put a couple of names on there, like fake names or whatever. No one wants to be the first person to sign into an open house. If it's blank, they're not signing in. Like, it's crazy. So you want to, and kind of skip lines when you do it, because when they start talking to you, I have notes on my phone and I just take notes like crazy. If they're talking about their kids or they bring their kids in there, you want to know how old they are, you know what their plans are. Are they looking for a certain school district? You want to know if they have animals. There's so much knowledge they'll give you if you have room to write. And that they will start telling you, you know, if they feel comfortable, the things that they're looking for. Of course, in our market right now, there probably won't even be a couple of houses available on the street, but you know, you've been in this a while, you know that that can, you know, ebb and flow. Does anyone have any questions on that part as far as the open house? You know, your goal is to get maximum traffic. I don't know with your market Every market's different as to what days. Kim, what's the best day? Is it Sunday here too?
Yeah.
It's like beating people over the head to change their traffic route. I've never seen anything like it. If it's new construction, they'll come anytime. But if it's, I mean, it's like training people. That's pretty much everywhere. Yeah, it's pretty much that way at every office.
I have one tip on getting people to sign the sheet that I would use. Because it's kind of awkward to ask people to sign in when they come in. I would usually tell people when they came in, I would just kind of point to the sheet and say, while you're signing in, let me tell you a few things about the house that you may not, see on the paper, see your own eyes, the aging room. I'll start giving them some things like that they may not know, but I'll say, while you're signing in, and, point to it, hand them a pen, something.
So Kim doesn't ask them to sign in. She says,
Yeah.
while you're signing in.
While you're
I love
signing in,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that because they're like right off the bat, they're going to do it.
Yeah, they'll be more likely to do it than.
What
Would you
kind of
like
sense is
to?
the
Yeah,
process?
Yes.
yeah, because if you ask them would they like to, they say no.
Yeah,
But if you
exactly.
kind of tell them to,
Mhm.
most people.
Yeah, most of them will. They're not going to be, but I love that while you're signing in. Not would you like to? So here's an open house checklist for sellers. This is like 1 to 3 days before an open house. I would say give them 3 days because it takes a little bit longer. Remove all the yard clutter. Right now, the leaves are crazy, blow your leaves, prune your bushes and weeds, clean windows, make sure the gutters and downspouts are clean. The front door is their first impression. So when they drive up, if that's trashy outside, it's just, it's a turn off. And half the time they don't even want to come in. And we're in a market right now where houses are selling so fast. That's not forever. Anyone who's been, through the ups and downs, it's not always that way. So try to learn to do it the right way ahead of time. Tighten and clean all door handles. I always say every light fixture in the house needs to be washed. There is nothing grosser than, somebody else's funk on the light switch. It's just those little things that do make a difference. If somebody reaches for the front door and the knob's all, falling off, or it's just right off the bat in their mind, they think you will take care of it. I always say clean all of your HVAC filters. Make sure it's clean, don't have, dog hair hanging out of it, because right away they're like, oh, they probably have a bad HVAC, it's gonna go bad because, they haven't taken care of it. Organized closets, I always say, get rid of 50% out of your closet. I don't care what your closet looks like, get rid of 50%. We're in the middle of winter, you don't need summer clothes in there, so box them up and put them somewhere. Clean and paint the walls and ceilings, remove excess wall hangings and furniture and knickknacks. These are all the things that you would do really before you list the house, but you still want to remind them because when they list it, then they kind of forget about all that. I've had to make beds, clean toilets, wash dishes in the kitchen when I've gotten there. Don't expect them to always know what their open house is supposed to be. And smells, like, God, if you have a cat, please clean the litter box. If you, don't cook something offensive the night before. And you just have to kind of gently tell them because they don't know. But you can give them this list, you can take this and we have all these things, I believe, in electronic form where they can add their own stuff to it, and just, remove anybody else's and you add your own stuff where it looks like it's yours. And y'all just feel free to reach out to us. Make sure you mow the lawn, get rid of everything on there, curb appeal, dust your wood. It seems like it would be a no-brainer, but it's not. A lot of them like to light like candles and stuff. I tell them not to because A, some people have allergies, and B, people often think that they're trying to cover something up. And if they go in there and it's like a lot of strong everywhere you go, it's always the first question they ask, well, is there something in here, that they're trying to camouflage, so.
Keeping the driveway and curb in front of the home where it prevents their parking, how are you gonna do that? Do you have a code? You can't really keep people from.
To keep them from going in the driveway?
No, from the curb in front.
Oh, to
Can't
keep,
really.
no, a lot of it could be just to have the sellers remove all their cars.
Mhm.
Like I had one a while back and it's a little tricky on the driveway, and they had 3 cars. And they were like, I said, I really need you to take all 3 of your cars. Like, I'm doing an open house, get them out of here, because I don't want anyone to think it's hard to get in and out, which it kind of was with 3 cars. And at first they were like, are you kidding? And I'm like, look, I'll help you. Like, we can go down to the clubhouse or whatever, let's go park these cars. So I think it's more keep it clear from
Okay.
the sellers, oh yeah, at an open house, it's just like, it's like a garage sale, like mass mayhem. But no, you're right about that, it's kind of hard to do it. This is just something to contact seller before an open house. If you're doing it, like if one of y'all were doing it for Ken, and you're like, can I do your open house? Hi, this is Teresa with Keller Williams Realty. I'm the agent who will be hosting your open house on Sunday to market your property. So is it convenient for you and your family to be out of the house from blah, 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 blah? She'll, usually the listing agent is going to set that up, but if they said for you to do it. And so this is fantastic. Here's what I would like to do. But even if you are the listing agent, this is a great thing to contact them. I'm going to start marketing and promoting your house. I'll do my part, which includes internet marketing, social media, notifying your neighbors, and of course, putting out a lot of signs. Often, lots of people show up and sometimes no one shows up. However, it always helps if both you and I do our part. So I'm going to email you a link of both the virtual tour and the flyer. If you don't mind, would you mind sending out the people that you know? Believe it or not, they know people, that could be interested in their house. It's the same thing with the neighbors, when they say, I don't want my neighbors coming in. Well, neighbors like to choose their neighbors. So that's, but this is just something that's a courtesy call, so this is your prep to explain to them how to start getting ready for their open house. Plan your sign strategy. You want a lot of signs. Signs are irritating to put out. You gotta stop on the weird roads, you feel like you're getting run over by a car, be careful, but you do want to put signs out there. The more signs you have, the more you're advertising yourself. If you don't have any and you're just starting out, you can borrow signs, from a listing agent. Market centers will have generic signs, but you really want to get your own. You want your face on these signs and you want your information. If you're on a team, your team, leader will tell you what to do with that. But, they know you, people need to recognize you. So make sure that you're not a secret agent, wear your name tag, make sure your face is there. People are like, oh my gosh, I don't want my face anywhere on the sign, but you do want it on there. You want to brand yourself. And of course, before you order signs, you want to make sure that they're approved for the principal broker. Look at a map and drive around to get the, the major roads. If there is a route that's not attractive going to the house, you just don't put the signs there. There's always that, how there's always a good route and a bad route, and we'll use the good route. Research for local HOA, regulations prior to make sure that they don't, that you're allowed to put the sign out. Anyone new to, you want a small sledgehammer with a rubber mallet to put the signs in the ground. And I always have a wood block too, so I don't tear up the signs, but clay, like this beautiful clay that we have around here. And then balloons are nice too. Go pick out some balloons. You want anything to make it look attractive, and and get signs like, honey, stop the car, your dog will love this yard. There's so many cute signs out there. You want to get really different types, and just, I don't care if you have 10 yard signs out there, make it look like something's going on at that house. And do your research. You want to find out everything about that house. For doing your prep work, you want to use the MLS and compile information. We talked about that before. Make sure that you do know and preview the other houses. Get out there. So here's my philosophy with your calendar. We're going to talk about the calendar real quickly. Your calendar for next week should be about 90% full at all times. If it's not full, then make it full. Even if it's not selling real estate, going out and previewing homes, and there's different things that you can do to fill it up. You make those appointments. You make an appointment to spend time with your kids. Put an appointment in there for dinner. Put an appointment in there if you want to go visit your parents.
that's okay to fill your calendar up with things with your family, but you also want it to be filled with things that you're doing, because if it's not full, then you're probably missing something and you're not working the real estate the way it should be. And trust me, it's real easy in this job because no one is telling you to be anywhere from a certain time to a certain time. So you have to kind of energize yourself with that. And that's why the calendar is really good. If you don't get to it on that day, it's okay, you can move to the next day. But keep moving it because you need to get out there and look at them. If you're gonna do an open house, you want to see what else is out there so you know the value of your house. Get the word out, door knocking with flyers, you know, regardless of what company you're with. Most companies will have something out there, or you can get something out there, but like with us, we have like tons of flyers that you can make. You can go into our command, it's called command, and make your own flyers. It's at no charge. You just print them out and go, and they're not hard. Okay, I don't have to call Shalaya when I make flyers. So if I don't have to call Shalaya, then I know it's not that hard. And so when you put the MLS number in there, it kind of just pulls them all up. And so it'll take the pictures off of your listings and stick it on the flyer. And you might have to change and tweak some things, you know, with your information. But once you do it, you can store them in there and you can use them to send out to your clients and your database. And it's just like one stop and one click away. So you kind of want to go out there. It says knocking on 100 doors, aim to hit as many as you can. The same thing goes for, and this does not matter if it's your house. When a house gets sold in the MLS, for anyone starting out, the minute that house closes, if that person, first of all, is no longer that agent's client. First thing that I do is knock on the door and say, welcome to the neighborhood. My name is Teresa Brandt. I just wanted to welcome you to your new home. And, you know, is there, you know, give you a little gift or whatever. It's funny, people forget who their agent is right away. So you can go in there, but the most important part is you want to go in and you want to tell the neighborhood what the house sold for, that it sold, and show pictures of it. Because I don't care what people say, they want to know and they want to compare that house. So you don't have to have that listing to go in there and market that neighborhood. Now, don't ever go behind the sign. You can never contact anyone before a house closes. And if there's a sign in front of the yard, you can't do it. I had a young little aggressive agent one time and just kept not realizing that. I'm like, no, you cannot go up to the door for any reason when that sign is in the yard until it's closed. But you can go into the neighborhood and share the wealth of knowledge about it. You know, this is what this house, you know, was listed for. It's what it sold for. It sold in 72 hours. And, you know, this is what it looked like. So don't be afraid to go in there and drop off that information and be that neighborhood expert. But it's the same thing whenever you have a listing out here that you're going to get out there and market. So does anyone have any questions about going into a neighborhood, any fear factor? Because if no one says they have fear factor, then I know everyone is not paying attention, because everyone has fear factor when you have to go and knock on a door. There are those rare people that it doesn't bother them. If you ever want to do a buddy system too, it's a lot easier with a buddy, where two of you get together and you do the open house together, and then you just split whatever commission comes. But when you go out and like, you're like, okay, stop the car, I'm gonna hit this side, you hit that side. It is so much easier to do it and to get that comfort level, because we all feel like idiots when we do it. You know, we just feel that it's that making yourself comfortable with the things you're uncomfortable doing. So, you know, it's not, but you're not blindly knocking on a door. You're inviting someone to something. This right here just tells you how to create an open house flyer. We're not going to do that today. This is where Shalaya comes in handy once you're onboarded. And this just gives you a little picture of what that flyer will look like. You can do postcards. You have to pay for the postage, but it lets you create postcards. You can send out Facebook marketing. You know, you can spend $20 and do a Facebook campaign. And I want to explain a little bit about that. through Command, which is kind of like the Keller Williams, thing, but there's other things. Some people do market leaders, some people do different things. Ours is just included in the company. When you do a Facebook campaign and you send it out, and say you're trying to target, where's an area that you are getting a lot of transplants from, Kim? What area are you getting transplants from? That's okay, like clients that are moving from other areas, where are they coming from? To here.
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, I don't know what's going on in Pennsylvania, but they are flocking. So here's my example.
Where's Indiana? Indiana, I've got people from a lot of areas, up north mainly,
Yeah.
in northern states.
So, well, a lot of them got really hit with COVID, they live in big cities, they're like, oh my gosh, let me get out to these small towns. If you want to do a Facebook campaign to Philadelphia, okay, let's say example, and you do that campaign through Command, there's an algorithm there that it doesn't just like shotgun it out to whoever. It's only going to go to the people who have been searching in Danville. So now, that being said, you might have 50 leads come in and only one's going to be interested in anything, but it still gets those people into your database and, so you want to call them right away. And some people will be like, I don't know what you're talking about. And some of them really don't know what you're talking about. But if they click on that and they respond to it and they look at what you sent out on that Facebook, it does capture them. It'll capture, and I have done regular Facebook and I've done Command. I don't know why, but I usually get better information, like the email and the phone number or the name. Every once in a while, I'll get something that says Mickey Mouse on it. They're just like, they just want to get in there, they're gonna put anything. But it doesn't just shotgun it does go directly to somebody who's been looking. So, and don't let people tell you that they're not interested. If they're in there looking, they've got something in their mind at some point that they're gonna want to buy a house. So here's another one about invite the neighbors. Does anybody want to read this part? Kelsey, do you invite the neighbors? Come on, somebody wants to read it.
Just read what,
Yeah, like put your name in there. Yeah.
My name's Terry and I'm from Keller Williams Realty. You may have noticed my sign just went up in the neighborhood for an open house at Bridge Street. Nobody wants to live on that Bridge Street, I'm sorry. As a courtesy to them, they requested that I come by and invite all neighbors to our open house this Sunday from 2 to 4. As always, we'll have refreshments. Kind of stop right there.
Yeah.
When I was doing open house, been a million years ago, they told us that you do not do refreshments. You do not do coffee. You do not do cookies. You don't know what allergies people have.
Yeah,
You
and
don't
during
know
COVID, it has gotten off a
filling
little bit.
stuff.
Some people will have like bottled water that they can take, in little packets of something with, cookies, but you're right. That is just a personal preference. And during COVID, you don't want people's little hands doing it. Some agents still do it, but you're right about that. Some of these you have to like reprogram them to today's day, because things are different. Some agents do refreshments every time, they'll have all kinds of stuff, but when I've done it, I've always had waters, and you can put your logo on the water. And I think that's a nice little touch. And sometimes I've had something like just, little bags that I did of like Cheez-Its or something that kids would eat, So it just is a preference, but you're right about that. You gotta be careful because you don't want some child eating a nut and having a nut allergy and you're sued. So you're right about that.
As always, we'll have refreshments. I'll come and invite you to come over as I found that neighbors are interested in seeing what homes are in their area are selling for, and also how they are decorated. So if you think you might want to come over this weekend, if yes or no. I'd like to also ask, a lot of times neighbors like to pick their own new neighbors. Do you know anyone who is interested in moving into this neighborhood at this moment, or who in your family might want to live close to you?
I have found that very few people are annoyed by this because, first of all, they love looking at their neighbor's house. Like, but you have to remember this, you need to tell the client, that owns that house, what you were doing. I don't know, I'm really worried about my neighbors coming to their house. I can't figure that one out. but you have to explain to them why, that a lot of times they're gonna know somebody from church or school or family members that, wanna move into it. Here's another one for renters. We'll just kind of go through this real quick. We don't have to read them all, but if there's renters in the neighborhood, most renters are eventually gonna buy a house because they're just here. A lot of times they're renting A, because they don't know they can buy a house. Or B, they just relocated here and haven't found anything yet. So don't forget the people who are renting. Be careful going into apartment complexes and leaving stuff at the doors. Because if they are rental, I've gotten in trouble with it before, but all they can do is slap their hand and be like, oh, sorry about that. But they don't like you soliciting their people. So, here's another thing, leverage the internet, time block on your calendar for social media, aim to use at least one forum. And even when you get to the open house, because a lot of people, because of the COVID and all of this, a lot of people that are going to end up being in your database are coming from these Facebook marketing, do a live video. Who's here's done a live video before at an open house?
I always do.
Now, when you first did it, did you feel a little stupid?
Yeah, but I like it.
Yeah, exactly. So we are our own, yes, we are our own, like worst enemy, because we're like, oh my God, I look so stupid on that.
You can't think about that.
No, you cannot, nobody cares, and you can even go practice, with someone. But I mean, the first time I did it, we couldn't figure out how to turn the phone to us away from, it's like, wait a minute, here's my big old lughead on here, but how do I get it to I mean, these are just the simple little things that you're like, well, this is weird. Just get out there and do it, because when you get on that thing live and you walk through that house and they can see you talking.
I do it on every list I have.
Oh.
Unless it sells in the first few days.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
happened a lot lately. I always do open house all
And it just gets
People love
attention.
videos.
Mhm, they do. When we first started doing them, Tina Fryers, my business partner, she had like 20,000 hits. Like, I'm like, how on earth did you get that many hits on that video? But again, some of those are the times that, you get that out there and you can do the paid advertising and you can, I just feel like getting it, the more you get yourself out there, the better it is. But they love a video. They like to tour the home that way. And then you have the social media, create an event button on Facebook, how to access the open house, select friends, have people, share your post. And in the office too, I think it's nice that every time someone in here gets a listing or has something like that, that everyone share it to each other, because right now the market's really tough and, it's hard to find houses. So at least
We have a Facebook post group, over 108 people in it. And most of our agents sell each other's houses.
yeah, they get in there and they can tell, before it goes live, what's there. Some of the MLSs are really funny where they won't let you share with other companies before it goes live, but they'll let you share with your own company. So, but each MLS has its own rule and nobody seems to agree on what the rule is, so. But you do want to make sure that you send it to everyone and have them share it. Because when they share it, so here's another thing too, and with our company, if you go into your own little website and your stuff, it's called your command. When you go in there, if you click on a button, every agent's listing in the entire company, so there's gonna be like, I don't know, 125 of them. Every single agent's listing is gonna be in there. So if you don't have listings, you can call up and say, hey, do you mind if I market that listing? Even though you're in Danville, you're gonna get Smith Mountain Lake listings. I mean, even though you don't specialize in Smith Mountain Lake, that's a great way to get somebody to pay attention to you because they're cool, they're beautiful houses. You'd be like, do you mind if I market this? It's just things like that you can go ahead and send it to your database, market it on Facebook. So it looks like it's yours, but you always call them or text them or whatever, just say, hey, do you mind if I
I
market
always
this?
advertise my list.
Yeah, always.
You don't have to ask me.
Exactly. And because, it's a sharing company and
Yeah.
but yeah, so you can do it. I just do it as a courtesy. Hey, I just want to give you a heads up on this. you know? Or can I go in and do a video tour of your house? There's another one. Just say, do you mind if I video tour it? And I mean, these things are just, they're at your fingertips, and it's so easy to go in, just as easy as it is yours, you go into somebody else's and click on it. And I do it all the time. I have my own listings, but sometimes I like theirs better. You know, I mean, there's a girl that had this cool winery recently, and I was marketing the heck out of that. Because even though, you know, maybe somebody comes in and they're like, hey, I want to look at that lake listing. Well, then you can refer it over to one of the lake agents and you get 25% of it. Or if you want, you can go show it yourself. So just an idea. So to invite people to your database, basically you just say, you know, hi Sarah, this is a quick call to invite you to an open house. I know that you live close to that neighborhood and I'd love to see you. That's a great way with a past client to reach out and say, I'm going to be here and I'd love to say hi to you that day. I mean, now that being said, I handled a subdivision once and it got to the point to where I could hardly host an open house because everyone kept wanting to come visit. And then I could never sell anything to anybody else because I was talking to my past clients. But it is a good way, you know, to reach out and say hello and invite them over. Because your past clients are always going to want to say hi to you. But the same thing with your friends. Call your friends, you know, just be like, hey, I'm hosting this open house, you know, come visit me. And then you can say, I know you're probably not in the market for a house, but I'll be there from 2 to 4 if you want to come over and have, you know, it says refreshments. I don't always do that. Refreshments take a long time. Do you do refreshments, Kim? Do you ever do food or?
Not, if I do, it's really simple.
Yeah, that's not too.
Bottled water is usually, and that's.
So you want, and make sure that when you go to your open house, you're prepared. You know, you do want to have, you know, your little arsenal of stuff. And this might sound stupid, but I always carry toilet paper in my car. Like, I mean, you have to almost come prepared. Everybody's always like, why is there always toilet paper?
Having a house kit.
Yeah, exactly. It is. You have to have your kit. You have a tape measure in there. I always have paint books. And they love that. Like talking about somebody to give them a reason to come over and talk to you, they love a paint book. And, you know, so, you know, if they're wanting to know what color are the walls on this house, you just be like, you know, and you can ask your seller too, if they just recently painted it was. I always know what it is because I usually suggest the color, but, so I want to start with especially, people who are new. When I started out, you know, they didn't really have, what year did you start in the business?
20 years ago is when I first got my license.
Yeah, so it's different now. I mean,
Yeah.
everything's totally different than it used to be. And, you know, I somehow, luckily, I kept almost every human being I ever talked to before a database was even created. I had these like boxes of sticky notes. Oh, my assistant, when I handed her that thing, she's like, you've got to be kidding. I said, I want all this in that database right there. And it was like, I mean, I had 18,000 people in mine.
Wow.
And so, because somehow I just kept, I didn't know what to, obviously I'm not good at organizing. So it just was in this box and it just, I still come across them. I'm like, oh, I'll put this person in. So now that there is a database, I have to stress this because, you know, I mean, not to be rude, but you know, shit in, shit out, like that's basically it. Like you have to put good information in or nothing is going to happen. And it's so easy to be like, oh my gosh, I just started doing it. Now I can't figure out how to add it, or, you know, you're just trying to figure it out, or you just keep stalling and you have all these people. So the first thing that you can do is, you know, everything's about Shalaya, by the way. Okay, so the world revolves around Shalaya, whatever you're doing, your technology. It's just be like, Shalaya, what do I do to transport my phone and my computer and my emails into my database? That's not the best way to do it because you want to clean your phone and all your people up before and have their, you know, email address, their phone number, their name, and their address that they live at. But if you're not going to do that, do something and have her upload. You can upload the whole phone. I had 8,000 people on my phone. People I mean, if I ever talk to a human being, they're in my phone. So you want to make sure that they get in there, and that is a shortcut way to do it without you having to put it in by hand. And, you know, we have this guy called Scott Leroy that we have like an agreement with, and he helps with a lot of stuff. So sometimes she'll be like, here, I'm going to send this to Scott Leroy. So you don't have to necessarily know how to upload all that stuff by yourself.
You can find it on YouTube too.
On YouTube,
Yeah,
how to do it, you mean?
yeah, I've watched a lot of those videos on YouTube.
Did you do hers?
I've done, well, I haven't done
I
that for her, but I've done a lot of stuff like that. for her.
That's awesome. Okay, so when you can't find Shalaya, YouTube. She's like, she's like, YouTube.
Well, I'm the one that sent her the YouTube, so.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and they do have self-help to do it. I just don't want people to get stuck because some people are less, you know, technically advanced than others and some are better at it. I mean, just everybody has their own thing, but don't ever feel like you're the only one that doesn't know how to do it. You know, if you go on the video, you're like, I still don't know how to do it. I actually went and got 2 laptops because what I found was when I was doing my training, I wanted to do it while I was talking. So I have 2 so that I can practice on. Of course, then I get a rabbit trail and I miss everything he's talking about. But, you know, we have these daily trainings, you know, what is it, an hour and a half?
It's an hour.
It's their technology trainings. I just can't tell you the stuff that it does. We even have like a magazine that you can create this magazine with your own stuff and it's already, the materials there. And it's a quarterly magazine, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so all you do is you upload your information and then you can email it out to your database. It's really cool. It's like I think 12 pages, but it's neat. It's newer, like it's newer for me, but I think it's really new.
Some of them have open house information and stuff too. Some of them are really detailed.
Nice.
They're cool.
Nice, so obviously I haven't read them. But the material is there and but there's so much stuff in there that you have to perfect one thing at a time. Otherwise you'll get, you know, nothing will happen. But the most important thing is get your database in there and do something with it. You know, at least every week, send them something, you know, send them a listing, send them a recipe, you know, send them something, you know, about Christmas or whatever you want to do, but make sure that you get that out. So this is your call sheet, you know, that you want to keep track of. You can make this digital. I don't do paper very well, so everything I do is digital. I have like two calendars actually, and I have my to-do sheet on the calendar. I don't know why, if I put it anywhere else, I won't look at it. But make sure whatever your thing is. Some people love paper and they can't do the digital, and some people are the opposite. I lose paper, so. You know, and then you want to, you know, on this is something because we're doing 2 classes, I'm not gonna have us do, but this is like real play results, you know, with calling people. You know, when you're new, especially, call the people that you know and like, and that they like you. So if you're feeling a little bit like timid about making your calls every day, always start the call with somebody. I don't care if you worked with them before, because that starts out, hey, I'm in real estate, or if it's a past client. You know, some people just make you feel good. Like, you know what I'm talking about, like, you know, you don't want to call that grumpy neighbor. You know, want to call somebody that's just like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to hear from you. Because once you do that, you're able to make the rest of those calls. And it can kind of get you out of your funk. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, the first words that we say in the morning, you know, it's just like, those are the hardest. So get yourself used to it. Day of the open house, you know, it is showtime and join your open house guests, get to know them and communicate your experience and expertise, and do each of the following. Gather your gear. You want to make sure, you know, that you're bringing your database to call leads when it's slow. All right, there's another one. Don't sit there and do nothing because nobody is in your open house. It's the perfect opportunity to reach out to people. And if you're uncomfortable having a conversation, afraid somebody will walk in, just start sending some text or some emails, or, you know, send people the house you're in. Hey, I just wanted to show you this house I'm in if you want to stop by. But don't waste your time at the open house. You know, decide your outfit. You know, don't be overly formal or overly casual. You know, wear something professional, even if it's just your company shirt or something, but you want to be fairly comfortable so that when you're running up and down the stairs or you're out there measuring something, make sure you always have a tape measure. You just want to make sure that you're comfortable and you're not in high heels and a pencil skirt, because people are more impressed with a realtor who will get out there and walk the backyard or if it's a little bit of land and woods, they like that. Believe it or not, they really do feel like you're involved whenever you're out there. Make safety your priority. This is really important. Make sure somebody knows, where you are at all times. And check all the rooms, establish escape routes, check your cell phone reception, emergency numbers. Don't ever walk in front of your client, like into the basement, and I don't want to scare people, but I mean, we did, 2 years ago, it was our agent that was attacked at an open house. And she survived, but she's still struggling with some physical issues and psychological. So you do want to make sure that you are prepared at all times. Now, it didn't happen for 20 years, but things do happen. So if you ever feel weird, we all have like that feeling. And it's funny because you're a guy, but if you look at statistically, just as many male realtors get hurt or killed as female or attacked. It's just very rare that it happens, which is surprising to me because it's like a sitting duck. But just remember to pay attention, to where you are. It's even a good idea, reason to go to the neighbors and say, hey, this girl was literally, the house was from here to here to the other house. So let them know that you're there, and have your car parked where you don't have it parked in the driveway, have it parked on the road where you have a quick access.
She was in Roanoke.
She was in the lane. Yeah,
Mary's Landing.
yeah, she was.
I always think everybody should have names.
And I agree with that. Yeah, I agree.
It's gonna be my hand.
Because, I've had a couple of instances, I've never had to use Maze, but I have had to do my little phone dial to have someone come right away. And, and I've had 3 instances in my,
Keep a flashlight with me, like, I'll show ones and everything, do use their flashlight, and I picked up a flashlight that does have it's a
Really?
electric charge, so.
Wow.
Yeah,
Is it a
doesn't
stun
look like
gun?
it.
Is it a stun gun?
Yeah, a little stun gun, so.
Really?
Big shots right down the side.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, how-
And it's really nice, because no one pays attention to you carrying a flashlight.
Yeah, they don't.
And you can turn it on and off, so you don't have to have the stun gun on the whole
That's
time.
awesome.
But it's easy to carry, no one thinks about it, you put it on your wrist,
Well,
and they're not really,
is it a stun gun or is it like an electrical charge, like if you walk into a barbed wire fence that's electrified?
it'll give enough of a shock to
Okay.
get you away.
Do you have to hit them, or is it gonna be?
You know, you gotta touch them with it. But if they're close, then you got it in your hand.
Yeah.
It can get you away from
Yeah,
them.
it can, it can stun them. That could have helped Lenora.
You can stun them and then get to your mates. if you have to.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's really nice, because most anytime you're carrying a flashlight or something like that, it's really
Yeah,
easy
it
to
is.
look, and so no one pays attention to it. Well, you don't really want to do is hand it to someone else to let them look at something.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, someone
Would you
read,
like to use my flashlight? But it is true though, because a lot of times we do want flashlights, you look under the crawl space or whatever,
Yeah.
that's great.
If you get it, just like practice with it each day, so you get really good.
Right, look at it, so you can
Not on
practice.
someone, just. Just hit the button.
Honey, come here.
You don't have to know where the button's at, stuff like that.
So say, who do we give a practice on?
Practice on your kids.
Exactly, we're like, all right, it's practice time. Because I do have that weird fear, like, I'm like, what if I pulled it out and it didn't work? Like, even with the maze, I'm like, holy crap, what if I did that? And then they're really pissed, you're like.
Yeah, well, the idea is, if you need to use it, you want to be really familiar with it.
Yeah, you don't
So
want to
just
be your
every
first
day
time.
when you get it, make sure you know how to make it zap. You'll hear it, it's zaps.
So you can hear it like when you just push the.
Yeah, if I hit it here, you can scare everybody in the room with it.
And see, that's actually better than maze, because I feel like with maze, you can't practice it.
Well, it can also go back in your. face.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
can.
you're incapacitated.
I know, but you can't practice on it. Like, I'm like, what is maze is on? Like,
I'm sorry, it's wrong.
just want to make, he's going to get it. So do we have to stop the class and run on down and buy a flashlight? I know. Get it? Yeah. And then as far as arrive early to set up, a lot of times, people love to come 30 minutes to 15, 30 minutes early to open house. I don't know why. Like, they know it's 2 to 4, but they always come early. Just get there early anyway. So turn on all the lights, open all the blinds unless there's something ugly behind them. You know, make it as bright as, oh, wow.
So it's just a little flashlight, you can keep it on your side. You can turn it on the bottom. You can always turn it on.
What was it?
You're welcome.
Dude, don't do it to your face.
It's all right.
Practice it.
Yeah, so
Horrible.
turn it on here. This button actually just turn on the flashlight. And then once you have the button here, it doesn't shoot anything out.
That's enough to scare the heck out of me. I'm like,
You
seriously.
don't have to touch it.
If you want to shop.
Wow.
But I mean, really, your coordinations have it, it can be offensive weapon.
Yeah, that actually,
No.
that's.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like a, you know, offensive weapon.
I think that's awesome.
If anyone wants to
Do
see.
you, do you know if it hurts?
Do what?
Do you know if it hurts, or does it just scare people?
I'm told that it will
It'll,
knock you back.
okay.
How much it costs?
Does it say?
I'm trying to think.
It did when I bought.
Who are we angry with today? It's on a bad list.
So which one turns on the flashlight? There's a button.
There's the slide is on the other end, that turns on the flashlight,
So that,
just push it up again.
okay.
And then the button on the other opposite side of that, and I turned it off. So if you look at the butt end of it, slide that little switch on. And then hit that little button on top, the little.
Scared you.
I think Tim looks way too comfortable.
Gotta conceal, but you know, sometimes you might have to get them off of you first.
Right. Getting to your concealed weapon is not always as easy, so that can get you enough time
Right.
to either get out the door
Oh,
or to
yeah.
get to your concealed weapon.
And that's why you wanna make sure your car is prepared to go.
Yeah.
You know.
And sometimes just hitting that, if people know you're going to defend yourself, they're less likely. If someone is going to attack you, they feel like you're vulnerable, you're not going to fight back, they're more likely to do something. But if you just look very confident and hit that, then they're going to think twice and kind of back away.
Well, you are big too. They're gonna be,
Yeah.
they'll be like.
But, I mean, I was like this, I keep one of each of our vehicles and,
That's
one at the house as well.
I mean, I honestly think it would be
They're nice.
great to have your teenage daughter.
They're good for traveling,
Really,
because if you ever stop
where they
on
can
the road,
pull
at
it
least
out
they'll get
on you.
something.
You know, it depends on how mad it is. This is what your day's like.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. class.
No, I can hear that. I like that. So the other thing is connect with your visitors and capture valid information. And this is another really important one. You know, when you ask them to sign into the registry, or you tell them when you sign in, which I like even better. You can just say, you know, before you take a look at the house, the owners have asked that everyone please sign the registration form. You can do it that way or the way Ken said. I like the way Ken said it. And you notice how forceful she is though. She's not wavering. She's not asking a question. She's just going in for the kill. People normally are going to just, when you, there's another class that I do on the type of words that you use to where they're almost like people just are going to be shaking their head. Next, ask how many questions as possible. You always want to ask them questions, you know, they're leading questions to dig information from, you know, what brings you here today? You know, are you in the market for a house? A lot of times people come because they're curious about what their home would be worth. Is that your case? But there's so many more. There's just, you know, tell me if.
That's meaning Alice started.
You know what that means? That means pick up my daughter from school because I forgot her the other day.
Oh.
So, yeah, I know, I'm mother of the year. Somebody else is getting her. Right? So it didn't go off that day. So she's not little. She's almost 17, so it didn't kill her. I was not 9-year-old. And it will happen to all of you, I promise. It's awful. But keep asking their questions, you know, and just let them know, you know, are you considering building a home? You know, do you need help with land? You know, most people who are looking at houses are also have that in their head about, you know, building a home. And on Monday at 1 o'clock,
Tina Fryer is giving a class and we'll be on Zoom on open house, on new construction, which is a really, really good class, because if you understand new construction and you can also speak that language, that will capture them as well. Because this might sound crazy, but I always say, hey, I've got some great floor plans. Would you like me to share them with you? Anybody can get floor plans. They're like on the internet, but I have mine created with my logo and my information on it. They're almost like they're mine, they're like on there and it's the house. And also, if you know any builders, and this is a good way to meet builders, is, to ask them, do you mind if I make a flyer that has that house on it that's priced without the land? And you always put disclaimers, that, depends on if they have to clear trees or how long the driveway is. But this is a nice little thing to have with you. And I have a book. It is actually a book, and I've got land in it. I've got subdivision plats in it. You don't have to represent a subdivision, have your subdivision plat. This is how you get out there. So it doesn't hurt to drive down the road if you see a builder working on a house and, you go up and take the crew some coffee and ask these questions. Because everyone loves new construction. Whether they're going to build new construction, they love it. And if you know the value of that house, they're going to be like, oh, my dad has this land, he thought about, giving it to us. Do you know how much this would be? You want in your head at least have a good, ballpark. So educate yourself with that as well. And I'm happy to help with that. Y'all please go on that. Do you have everyone's information here, Shlaya? You can invite.
Kim's
them
gonna send it to me.
Okay, yeah, because that's gonna be a really good class. This one has a little sign-in sheet if you want to use paper, where they can fill out the questionnaire. And of course, you can put your own logo on here. So whether you're with Keller Williams or whatever company you're with, you create your own logo, like Ken has hers. You don't have to use the Keller Williams logo. They're very, only when, like on the signs, it has to be readable, but small enough for it's more about you. But you just need to make sure you go by the legal guidelines. But for stuff like this, brand yourself, put your picture on there, anything where they recognize, oh, there's you, and, here's you.
And that's gonna be for the brokerage, if you normally look for brokerage.
Yes, please ask your broker. Yeah, don't get us in trouble, be like what Teresa said.
Keller Williams really is that in front of yourself, but a lot of brokerages are not.
Okay, yeah, so be careful with that.
If you go on with Keller Williams,
Yeah, be careful with
They don't
that.
like it
Yeah,
as much.
they like you to put your own logo as long as Keller Williams is on there to be legal, and your picture and your information, because, and even their phone number is small, because they want the phone call to come directly to the listing agent. So we have here, with buyers, if the visitor is a buyer, assess their wants and needs on the tour. What do you think about this house? Is it the kind of house you can imagine yourself in? What would stop you from making an offer on this home? Do you need something bigger or smaller? These are the times when you start pulling out your arsenal. If that home does not work for them, your responsibility is to be a wealth of knowledge that you're going to find that right home, and you're going to get it. So, practice these a little bit, because you want these words to flow off your tongue in your own language. Not everyone is going to speak the way this is, and so it sounds a little canned. Because, I don't say hello, I say hi. Everybody has their own way, but you want to memorize it where it comes straight out of your gut. Like the minute they talk, these things are in your head. So you have to practice. And you can practice with your family too. Kids love practicing with their parents, like, because they can make fun of you the whole thing. So it's always their favorite thing to do, practice sessions. So buyers who are selling. So that's like the golden nugget right there. And that's why you're at this open house. You're not there to hang out and do an open house with Ken, for instance. You are there to find your own people. Buyers who are selling, where do you live now? That's the first question you just ask, where, are you local? Are you visiting, family? Do you own your home, or, are you renting? Would you have to sell that home before you purchase? So you don't start spouting these off, by the way. You want to make sure that you're having this interaction and these are just flowing into that conversation. If yes, do you have any idea how much your home would sell for in today's market? Would you like me to give you a quick estimate? Would you like me to tell you the things that maybe you could do to bring more value to your home? And these things are something that I think we should all do as a group, and to pick one house that we want to go into, and it could be somebody's listing, to where we go in together and determine the price. And we walk in together to determine, or it could be another agent's listing, doesn't matter. You know, you're just gonna tour the home, to go in and you decide why that house hasn't sold, you know, and we do it together. We wanna go and learn how to measure houses, you know, so these things are important. They don't seem important until all of a sudden you get one and you're like, crap, I have no idea how to, if it's been in the MLS before, sometimes you can, you know, at least have a guideline. But if a house has been sold over and over and over, every realtor has stolen it from somebody else's and taken the information, and you need to make sure that you have the right size, because I've had several of mine that I measured and they were way bigger than what it said in the past. So you want to make sure. New construction, just a little tidbit, a new construction house is measured, you know, all houses are measured from the outside. When builders build a new construction house, their plans are only from the inside. And believe it or not, they have no idea that their house is like way bigger than what it is. They might say it's 2,000 square feet, it might be 2,400. So through the years, that incorrect information in the MLS just keeps happening. So you want to make sure you measure. The other thing that I do is I check the tax assessment. If the tax assessment has not been updated for that house, say they bought the house and they finished the basement, but it doesn't show in the tax assessment, I have my clients go and contact the county to get it redone. Some counties won't do it right away, but at least you get that ball rolling. They're gonna be like, oh, well, I don't want to pay extra taxes.
Yeah, that's what they're good, yeah.
But I always say you're selling your house. You're not gonna pay extra taxes. What you want is for when the public pulls it up or another realtor pulls it up, for them to say, oh, wow, this house is, you know, close to assessed value. Instead of saying, wow, why are they pricing it at 400 when the assessed value is 150? Because they don't have the correct information, you know? So it's only as good as when people do it. And they do always say that, like they get stuck on that, you know, tax thing. So sellers, if the visitor is a seller, you have the opportunity to secure them as a buying client. And you may also be able to secure their listing. Are you curious about what your home is worth? I'll be tied up here until about 4, and I'll be more than willing to come over after that. It only takes me about 5 minutes to walk through the home, and I could probably give you a pretty good estimate within a range of what your home would sell for. And then great, I'll see you then. So if no, you can say I prepared a list of comparable sales in your neighborhood. That would give you a good idea of the value. If wouldn't mind sending it to you, do you have a good email address where I can send it? You never know what they're going to do, but you have to, if you don't ask, you don't get, you know, and just remember, you know, some people might do really well by obnoxiously attacking people with it, but there is a way to make them feel like you're just not being so pushy. You want them to feel like you're trying to help them, because you are. And if you are helping people from your heart, they'll know it. If you're helping them from your checkbook, they're going to know that too. You know, they really will know the difference. So neighbors, you know, some visitors to the property may just be neighbors who aren't necessarily interested in either buying or selling. It always seems to me that when neighbors come by, they're either looking for decorating ideas, or at some point we're curious about what their home might be worth. Have you ever thought of selling your home? You can say this to them. And sometimes I'll ask people, I'm like, you know, hey, you know, are you looking for some ideas for, you know, for your house? I mean, there's so many different things that you can ask them, but at first they'll like be like, oh, I just want this. But then all of a sudden they'll start creeping back over to you, you know, and that's when you start really gathering their information. Another thing real quickly I want to say, and I'm going to start wrapping this up, I don't know, it's classy. But for sale by owners, when someone has their home on the market for sale by owner, everyone's always afraid to call that person. And yes, in this market, a lot of them are selling on their own. Every for sale by owner is moving somewhere. I mean, unless they're going into a nursing home, you know, I mean, they're going someplace. Whether they're moving out of the area or they're going to be local, at least stop by and preview their home and give them that olive branch. You don't have to right away say, I want to list your house, but ask them where they're going and if they would like your assistance in helping them. You know, another thing too, I don't believe in just giving away commissions, but if somebody's gonna buy a house from you and you wanna give them a little bit of a break to get that listing, never ever give a lower commission on the other agent's side. You know, because you know, like the listing might be 3% on your side and 3% on theirs. Don't ever take advantage of the buying agent. But on your side, if you're like, hey, you know, since we're gonna be working together on a purchase, you know, would you be interested, you know, if we discuss something where I can help you out a little bit, and you still have representation? They're just things you can do.
Some brokerages won't allow that, Teresa. We're very flexible here.
That's true. I know.
So be careful what you're saying to these.
I know, I'm sorry. And always ask your broker if they might need to do that. Because my philosophy is I'd rather have some of something than all of nothing. And get out there. Activity just breeds activity. I don't care what you charge them for the listing commission on that. Maybe you can't go out on every listing and not get paid. But you always get people from your listings, but you never want to be that realtor. Do not hurt another agent's pocketbook. Because, and if they want that, all you have to say is, I had a client, who was mean as can be, and he had 3 realtors and the house never sold. I went in, he's like, why isn't my house sold? I said, well, I'll tell you the one reason why your house isn't sold. I said, you're only offering 2% of the buyer agent. This was before this market was like this. And I said, there's so many houses like yours out there. And I said, if you went to work and your, you know, boss told you he's going to give you a third less, you know, would you be happy? And he's like, God, I never thought about it like that. Because the first thing he said is, don't try to get my commission up. So by the time we finished, I know I got the listing and, you know, it was full price, believe it or not. His house sold, and I have sold 3 houses for that guy and his family. For whatever reason, he crossed over from Grumpy Bill, and he was, you know, and so he just, because he said he appreciated my honesty. So just remember,
I tell
don't
people a lot of times if they want discount commission, they get discount
service.
service, yeah. I mean, you get what you pay for and everything. And most people honestly would have tried to get me down. I'm not saying I've never cut my commission, it depends on the situation.
Yeah, it does.
But if they're just trying and they're just, I'm just saying, I'm sorry, I don't typically discount my commission. You know, it's a situation like you said, where you're both sides.
Yeah.
I've tried to help clients, I need to help clients, but just somebody coming at you that's like that, I just tell them.
And most of them respect you for it when
They
they do.
do.
You know, they really do. When you explain it to them that way, you know, because they think you get all this money and they don't realize, you know, some goes the brokerage, Uncle Sam, marketing, you know, you don't get all that. It's not like it's, you know, a free payday. So once you explain it, and when I do listing agreements and they ask me what my commission is, I always say mine is 3% and the buyer's agent is 3%. I don't say 6. 3 and 3 sounds way better than 6. They can
I was
have
gonna
that.
say, and that is split between me and my broker, and the other side is split between me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You do, you gotta explain it. Yeah.
They realize that, it really does.
It does psychologically, it does, you know, it does affect it. You know, and you need to show them your worth and your value and, you know, what you're willing to do for them, because you're right, you know, when you cut your commission, doesn't always mean anything unless there's a certain situation for it. You know, and you can, depending on what your broker says, there's ways to do open houses for sale by owners where you can get people in. Everything you do to get in and help that for sale by owner, just always again, lead from your heart. You know, if you're not doing anything on that day, does it really hurt you to go out and help them, you know, help them get ideas on, you know, things to do? So I think it's just important to, you know, don't be afraid of for sale by owner, because everybody's calling them, hey. But if you're offering, that's better than somebody going after you. So, you know, here's another thing. Before you go too far down the road of qualifying your visitors and asking for an appointment, you must establish they are not already in a formal relationship with another agent. Read that yourself, but that's how you make sure you're not stepping on toes. It just, you know, and plus they're a little hard. Sometimes they don't even know they're in a relationship. They just don't. They have no idea. One other little tidbit where people are always like, my buyers are cheating on me. Most of the time when a buyer cheats, it's not because they're cheaters. It's because they misunderstood what your value system is. When you talk to someone, you have to explain to them that you can represent them on any property. It's not just yours, it's not, so when if they're using your app, and they roll up to the house and they see another name on it, you've got to explain to them not to call the listing agent.
It would be surprising if we did not.
They do not understand. I mean, a lot of them don't. Yeah. Leave the open house exactly as you found it and capitalize on immediate appointment opportunities. NAR says discourage less than 1% of buyers purchase a home they first saw in an open house. You have to get after them. If they're going to forget who you are if you don't follow up with a nice thank you note. So next day by phone, there's a script with this too, on what you can say when you call them. I find that if I do it right away, they're all, how people in buyer's remorse, they're all excited about whatever they're doing. You don't want them to get to work the next day because they're not excited to talk to you anymore. Enter your contacts into your database, put them on touch campaigns to where they get information. You've already asked them what they're looking for, so you can start giving them, hey, does your MLS here have auto prospecting?
Auto prospecting?
Yeah, where you can set somebody up on their search criteria and automatically
Oh,
fill it
yeah.
out to them. Yeah, so that's another class if you haven't done it. It sends immediate notification. You want to beat Realtor.com and Zillow or Homes.com or whatever. You want them on immediate notification the second something comes up, and that's what you say. Hey, would you like me to set you up? There's a little bit of a lull on some of these other, medias, but mine will send it out the second it goes live. That makes you more valuable because you're coming to them quicker. And you can also call everyone on the database when a home sells. That's a great way to do it. You can, share the good news. Hey, you came to my house. I just thought it might help you in your home search to know what this home sold for. Again, you're giving them, value. There's going to be here, I'm going to let Alice come in here, but this is just tells you on the 7 levels of open houses. Keep this. This is really, really good. There might be some things in here you're like, I don't want to, do that. Most of this stuff is really, really good to get people in your open house. Don't just stick it on social media and hope they show up. Like, that's a waste of your time. Make it worth it. So there's a couple of things in here, but they're minor. Now we got the.
Thank you. Does anybody need a quick break?
Does anybody want to follow water or?
Water, cookies,